Hi, mate.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. This is good. We're finally doing this, mate.
Yeah.
Finally doing it.
Threads, the debut.
Threads. How long did it take us to set up?
Well, how long's a piece of thread?
That's a great way
There
to
we
start.
go.
I like that.
And we're in.
So, yeah, I mean, like anything, right? Going into something like this, I wanted to... The purpose here, right, is to really look at getting into a conversation underneath the titles, underneath the surface, the stuff that really makes you you, right? And me and you have known each other a long, long time, and we've laughed, we've shared some difficult moments. I know we'll get into that a little bit more in the podcast, but you know, one thing that I see in you is I see the success, I see the wins, I see the struggles, and the purpose of Threads is to turn away from putting the spotlight on the famous people, putting the spotlight on theories and business and all the kind of stuff that I've kind of come to terms with that just doesn't matter really if we really break it down. And I worry that we're not putting the spotlight on people and like what being human is all about. So that's the purpose of today, is to bring in a conversation where we can get under the bonnet of you, Nick. So yeah, I mean, let's just kind of kick off really, mate. How are you? How have you been?
I'm all right. I'd say I'm on the way up again. Like the last couple of months have been really tough. Really tough. I've been working a lot on what I want to work on, if that makes any sense. And that's caused me, in part, quite a lot of overthinking, a lot of sense of self-loss, and trying to understand like where I actually fit into myself, let alone into the wider world. So it's been tough, you know, it's been a challenge. I went and started getting some additional help about 3 weeks ago, which has been amazing. You know, as a side note, the NHS, if anyone's out there thinking of doing something similar, I went from having the first conversation with my GP to going and meeting with a mental health nurse and starting that process within 10 days.
Wow.
So don't listen to all the fear-mongering and scaremongering that's going on out in the press. Yes, the NHS has definitely got some funding issues and they're stretched, and everybody in there does an amazing job, but it's been really helpful just to be able to know that I can go and speak to someone and get that help and help me kind of move forward into the next step. So a very deep answer to start off, but yeah, I've not been particularly well, but I'm now starting to see the wood for the trees perhaps a little bit more than I had been.
But this is the thing about podcasts, right? And we're gonna touch on this a little bit later, because we were talking before we got on air around reality TV and kind of like subjectively the things that we engage with outside of reality. It's called reality TV, but really people are prepped and armed with like, who do I want to look like? Who do I want to become? And the purpose of this channel and this community is to really, like, are we really okay? Are we really okay? We go back to our loved ones, and, you know, really that's when we start to go bleh, and we let it all out. And so I think it's a real question and it's a real answer. You know, I think it's great well done for being so vulnerable. I think a lot of people will connect with that, Nick. What do you think, you know, has been the precursor to this kind of overwhelming mental health storm that's going on with you at the moment?
Really good question. If I knew, I would fucking love to know the answer to that myself.
We could have cut the podcast straight after you given the answer. Yeah. There you go, folks.
Thanks.
We've done it.
Yeah. Well, it's this.
But seriously, like, you know, I know from I've suffered with depression for a long time, and I always end up finding these key little things that they're almost like I'm looking for the first domino, and sometimes I can't quite find that.
Yeah.
But you can track yourself back. Do you think there's any triggers or anything that you're setting in terms of pressure on yourself?
I mean, that's definitely one of them. Pressure, self ingrained pressure, definitely is one of them. It always has been. You know, whether it's work, whether it's wider life. I always feel like I should be doing more, could be doing more. I've always found it very difficult to allow myself to celebrate the wins. You know, I almost feel like the rug will be pulled out from under my feet if I do. So it's like, you know, put all that pressure on you, work to get to that point where you then do something that you've achieved, and then almost normalize that achievement as being like, well, that's what I should have been doing anyway, so on to the next thing, which is not healthy. I sometimes have those kind of out of body moments where I can watch that happening. Nonetheless, find it very difficult to even stop myself from doing it. To answer your question, is there, you know, what was that first domino? Really difficult to say. I attach a lot of my own low self-worth or self-worth and sense of identity to my work, which at points has allowed me to kind of get to where I am, which is definitely a positive, really strong work ethic. But with that comes a lot of negatives. You know, when I'm looking at, well, what do I want to do with the business? You know, I'm year 3 into the Glue Between, and it's been a really enjoyable journey up until recently, to be quite honest with you. I've ticked a lot of boxes, hit a lot of milestones, learned a shit ton about not just business, but myself. And actually, maybe part of me learning about myself now is going through this valley of challenge, for want of a better phrase. And I think one of those triggers has been work, has been that sense of purpose around my own self-identity and purpose in myself. And because I link work so closely to that identity, when I don't have that clarity there, which I don't at the moment, it becomes quite all-consuming. You know, is it down to work entirely? Absolutely not. You know, I've dealt with depression I'm 39 now, 2 decades probably. You know, I know usually have the tool kit in front of me that when I go into 2 or 3 of those moments a year, I know I'm coming out of them. I know how to deal with them. Usually they get slightly lighter every time. They're still just as bad every time. But this one has definitely been different. So I think there's something else there that I haven't been able to understand or deal with, which is why I went out to get some additional help and support from those that, you know, are experts in it and can help me understand that. You know, they can't give me the answers, but they can help me navigate my way through things better than I can.
Yeah, and like we joked, right? Like that we're looking for that first domino, looking for the answer. You know, a lot of the time, you know, mental health therapy or any kind of coaching like that is kind of, it's almost part of the therapy is just sharing how you're feeling in any shape or form. It takes the power out of it a bit. It feels good for somebody to say, I get it. You know, I understand where you're coming from. 2 decades is a long time. You know, 2 decades is a long time, mate. A lot of struggle there. And, you know, I think ambition can be a precursor to a lot of challenges for people, because sometimes our expectation and ambition don't quite match up. And, you know, we get so attached to business. Why do you think that is? You know, like, we were talking a little bit about money. You know, a lot of the listeners will be, you know, we live in a difficult time. You know, middle class are really getting pinched at the moment. You know, tax, all, you know, we won't get into the political aspects of everything because it was...
Yeah, let's definitely not.
Yeah, we changed the name. Treads.
Treads, yeah. Treads carefully.
Treads carefully. But, like, let's look at money, right? Like, you know, you were saying that you've done pretty well for yourself. You know, what are your... Is your ambition tied to purpose, and what does that look like to you?
Yeah, another good question. is my ambition tied to purpose? Massively. So if we remove the monetary side of things for a second, which we can only ever do hypothetically, so let's just do it that way. My ambition and purpose are inextricably tied. When I lack that purpose, my ambition feels completely untethered. I struggle to understand how to separate those two things at points. And so when I'm lacking purpose, that ambition is just flailing in the wind. And I can feel that. And that's a really difficult thing to not focus on or put too much focus onto, which I definitely have done at points. So that ambition and purpose is a huge golden thread between the two of them. When they're both aligned, which they have been multiple times throughout my career and my life, you get into that flow state and you can feel that, right? You know when you're kind of in that sweet spot of, I enjoy what I'm doing, I'm moving things forward and they feel effortless, I'm seeing outputs, and external validation is a really key part of that as well. You've got to be very careful with the external validation, but that plays into it as well. And you start seeing that happen. When you're in that flow state of things, it feels great. Once you've experienced that, when you're the other side of, or the other end of that spectrum, and you feel a million miles away from being in that flow state, it can crumble you quite quickly. It certainly has done me at points. So if you then bring the financial side of things back into play, I always have this duality going on of, you know, the 101s, you've got to pay bills, you've got to pay mortgage, you can know, this romanticized idea of do what you want and it doesn't really matter about the money. That what is one hard end of the spectrum. The other side is make as much money as you can to secure your future. For me, you know, I wouldn't say I'm overly materialistic, and I don't have that lifestyle creep that, you know, people talk quite a lot of. Financial security for me is more important. Working towards the future is more important. And again, that has both sides of the coin. You know, it's great to be able to think about the future and work for the future and build security for your future financially. Sometimes that will cut you off at the knees for living in the present and being in that present moment, and over planning for the future and over orchestrating what the future means to you can damage your present and your now. So I'm very, when it comes to the financial side of the business, of my personal finances, of our personal finances as a married couple, I have to keep that in check quite carefully. Yeah. Because I never used to be like that. No, I didn't, you know, when I was younger, I definitely wasn't like that. But, you know, for a number of reasons, all positive, over time, I have become more like that. So I think that, yeah, that triangle of ambition, purpose, finances, it's a really tricky one to get right. I don't think you ever get it right, if I'm honest with you. It's a tricky one to balance and learn what you want that balance to be for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, so whilst you're talking there, I'm like writing some of these things down, right? Like, so, you know, let's break it down. You know, you come out of school. I want to ask you a question about what about your childhood, and I'd like to also maybe get into, you know, what you studied at university. So we'll come back to that. But, you know, once we're off on our own, right? You finish uni, whatever you decide to do, or you finish school at 16, like I did, didn't get very good grades, and I'm already on the right. What's the journey? What's my purpose? Where am I going to be in life? Where am I going to go? You set the precedent of make money. Security. There's almost like a fear, an ingrained fear on security, money, gotta have kids, gotta get a house. All these things in this modern day are really tough. You know, there's people who have got children, even having children, as blessed as they are, they're hard work. You know, you want to bring them up right. Yeah, kids being hard work, you know, I can live with that. In fact, actually, sometimes I look back and I kind of look forward to going back to the kids and their hard work, because it makes me feel alive, you know. But there's also people out there that are struggling to have children. I think more so now in the modern day than ever before. Then you've got future. You know, where do I want to be? Life is short. You know, my father died in April. It was one of the precursors to launching this, to express myself, him, more from normal people like him. And like, I don't think my father really knew what the end was going to be look. I don't think when he finally got money and he finally got, his kids are all grown up, it was almost like he was ready to go. Even though he went suddenly, it was almost like I've done it all. But like then you're at the end. It's quite not scary, but like I don't think we ever really get to the promised land. I think it's all a journey. And who sets these agendas? Make money, have kids, buy a home, get security. And then I think it was Jim Carrey that turned around and said, I wish everybody could get rich and have everything they want to realise it's never going to be enough.
I've seen that, yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? And I know this is a big question, but I want to ask the big questions because I want to hear people's thoughts. What do you genuinely think life is all about?
That's a biggie, mate. That's a fucking
Welcome
big
to
question.
Treads.
Welcome to Treads. I think it goes back to that idea of purpose for me. And I'll come back to that in a second. But as you brought the money side of things up, it blows my tiny mind that we all chase money, right? These sets of currencies that we have, that are man-made.
Bits of paper,
right?
That they keep printing.
Yeah. And before that, it was, do you remember as pirates, you have like a piece of what's it called? A fucking bird on your shoulder. And you have like a piece of pieces of eight. That was, so my brother's a deep sea diver. And his first ever job was treasure diving. There is a point to this. He was a deep sea diver. And they were searching for pieces of 8. And it was 1/8 of an ounce of silver. They were coins. And it was back in the days when the spice trade was extremely valuable. So you go from Britain down to West Indies or wherever with your pieces of 8. And you trade them for spices. And you bite off a bit of the 1/8 of an ounce of silver to pay it. That's why it's called a piece of 8. Wow. That was the first ever international currency. And then at some point, we started building our own currencies and all this. And then fast forward to today, where as a species, and if you look at it as a species, we are so obsessed about chasing these things that we've created ourselves, that if you could click your fingers and they no longer existed anymore, what would you be chasing? You'd be chasing health, relationships, security, all these other things would still remain in the world, not money. And yet that's the thing that we attach ourselves most to.
I think you've hit something, and I don't want to lose this.
No, not at all.
I don't want to lose the thread. Obsession. I like that. Because I wake up, I think this is me and you talked before we went live, right? That I'm in a very similar place to you. I've had a good day today. I slept for the first time properly for a long time. But I found myself at a point now, a transition in my life where I'm doing more for the church, I'm doing more for community, I'm doing more for, my relationship with God. And that's, we're not going to talk about all that stuff today. That's not the purpose. But what I found is this transition from worldly obsession to like wanting to serve purpose. And I've never seen so much purpose in my life than when I'm doing something that doesn't actually benefit me. But yet we're tied to paying a mortgage, tied to making a living, making our business work, actually being having our place in society. Like, where do I fit in here? And we kind of obsess. We spend our whole life obsessing over that. And you said it, I'm going to come back again to 2 decades, right, of struggling with this. Do you see these two interlinked? What do you think?
Yeah, massively. And to that point of purpose, which is to answer your question, what do I think this life's all about? Maybe I'm feeling it more so now than I have done for a while, and because of, mentally the space I'm in. But that answer is purpose to me. It is about, before you even look at what is my place in the world, which I think is where most people, and I can only talk for myself, but I'm going to make an assumption here, where most people probably go to first. What is my place within myself? You know, understanding your own purpose internally is the harder work to do.
Yeah.
So it's easier to start looking at it in the context, quite naturally, of how do I want myself to fit in the wider world? And then you land on something, and then you kind of retrospectively build yourself into that space, as opposed to sitting with the inner work of, you know, what do I feel, or who do I feel I actually am, not necessarily what I want to be.
I'm just going to stop there. If you can see, right? And well, if you see, I wrote, "Who am I?" and you said it. Like we're on track. Like, you know,
it's Threads, baby.
Yeah, welcome to Threads.
Welcome to Threads.
I mean, that is bang on.
Yeah.
Like, who am I?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and so build that into society in terms of the things that we're surrounded by right now. Okay. What do you know, we can't control what's around us, but and that's easy to say, but yet we can't stop it affecting us.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what do you do to deal with the pressures that you see externally outside? And do you think that is it affects, you know, is part of, is one of those dominoes?
Yeah.
Maybe not the first one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it is to some people, but
Yeah.
you know, what do you...
It definitely is a domino.
Yeah.
Domino.
Woo-hoo, domino.
It is definitely one of those dominoes for sure.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of, you know, whether it's doom scrolling on social media, comparison being the thief of joy when you're looking at, you know, what other people that are in the same industry as me and that do the same thing as I do. You know, you see something crop up on LinkedIn, for example, you know, I'm obviously talking professionally now, and you can't help but compare it. So you have to catch yourself doing it is the first challenge. And sometimes you only catch yourself doing it once it's already happened, which makes it even worse. But by the nature of us as humans, it's really difficult not to. You can, I would imagine, because I'm definitely not there yet, I would imagine that becomes somewhat, in inverted commas, easier to do once you've done more of that inner work on your own sense of purpose and self-identity within that. I would like to, and hopefully will get to a place where I could come back and have a conversation about that down the line.
Definitely.
I'm not there today.
No.
But it is definitely a domino, for sure. What would you say? Where do you feel that sits with you?
I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
I journal now. Look at me. Ooh. But I do, because also my head is battered from years of being an idiot and doing things that I shouldn't have done, right? But no, that's not fair. I mean, I've got a good brain, but like I struggle. Again, I think there's so much content that we consume on a daily basis. There's so much, you know, it's work, it's kids, got to take the kids to school, like, you know, all the general stuff that we deal with, work, family, money, all that. But then outside of that as well is the noise that goes on in my head. And our brains are not built, I don't believe our brains are built to compute with the amount of information that we get. They're powerful machines.
Definitely not.
And I think that's the problem.
Not.
But okay, this all ties back into money, right? Why do you think social media is created? Yeah, is it been really created to keep people connected, or is it created to generate income for boards and directors and investors that run LinkedIn, Facebook, all that kind of stuff? We could get, you know, this isn't the Russell Brand show. We're not going to start diving into, you know, theories and stuff.
Let's get our thesaurus out.
Yeah, let's get it. Yeah, I spelled and wrong. So, but like, you know, I look at all this, and that's why I deleted Instagram when I quit music. I've not had Instagram, not had Facebook, TikTok, any of that for a while. But I'm actually frightened about, you know, see Archie consuming YouTube content like it is a drug. And I mean that. And that frightens me. And he's got, I wouldn't say it's affected his grades or his studies, but I think the more he gets into these things, the more it's going to affect him. And I just think the world itself is setting us up to fail. And that's my honest opinion. I think the world is setting us up, and I don't mean it in terms of what was created originally in the earth, and what it was really human beings were supposed to be created for. Love, reproduction, community. I sort of had this conversation with somebody, and I'm going to steal this with pride from Matthew McConaughey's podcast with Stephen Bartlett. He was talking about religion, right? So don't worry, guys. I'm not going to dive into a religion conversation here, but I'm just going to say something that really sat with me for everybody was religion in terms of what its terminology in Latin. It means religate, which legate means to bind together, and means again. Right, so we're all craving to become somebody in society, a part of this kind of global community of people that are striving together to make the world a better place and to achieve our goals and ambitions. But the people that are setting the goals and ambitions, the people that are setting flight on a daily basis, are setting such a high standard, not even a high standard, sometimes for some people that have got, middle class jobs, some people on benefits. You're setting a standard online, on TV, through social media, through personalities, through celebrities, through LinkedIn, through social media, through TikTok. You're setting this precedent of what the ideal person looks like, and it's unattainable. And I think that is why the world is on, and I mean this, I'm sorry to be a Billy Downer. Is it Billy Downer? I don't even think that's a word. We'll go with it. Billy Downer. Billy Downer. Who's Billy?
I have no idea.
He's on Threads next week.
Episode 2, Billy Downer. Welcome to Threads.
I got me coming in dressed as, I don't know why, but as a cowboy.
With your backless chaps again?
Yeah. Hi guys, Billy Downer here. I'm about to say. He'd do well on social. Anyway, we're going completely off. Lost what I was talking about.
Billy Downer.
I don't want to be a Billy Downer, but the real truth of the matter is the world is a bit on fire at the moment, and I think everybody can align that. I'd say majority of the world is struggling. And I'm going to say this because I went to see a talk on Saturday morning at a men's breakfast, and it was talking about persecuted Christians in Africa, that are getting macheted. They're getting their houses set on fire, so they run out and they're getting macheted. And it was a real check-in moment, and it actually it helped me realize that the UK are in the top 1%. We're very lucky. So there's also this. So sorry if I've gone off piece, but I don't think all this helps. Do you think these people that are persecuted and these people that are at war in the wars in Gaza, do you think they really care about TikTok? Do they think it's almost like, why are we trying to do? We're almost being distracted, right? I feel like we're distracted all the time, which almost takes us away from purpose. What do you think about that?
Hugely so. And I'm gonna. So to answer your question, do I? Yes. Sorry. It's always no. It's all about
a tendency to do that.
It's all about context, isn't it? Right. So, to veer off in the nicest way possible away from that example of Gaza, because I think that's a completely different conversation, but it is a very good. Yeah, all good. I'm just going to actually just not.
I was just checking the camera.
I'm also not just going to not talk about Gaza. But this idea of being distracted from purpose, especially in the Western world, is really damaging. Really damaging. Social media is just a very big, but one example of that. If before the days of social media, it was the old keeping up with the Joneses, white picket fence, all that kind of stuff. Because there's so many things going on that we allow ourselves to be distracted. We come into work, clock in, clock out, do the thing. We spend the rest of our time nowadays looking at what else is out there to distract us from stuff, because we don't have that sense of purpose. And again, I can only talk for myself actually, so that's unfair to say we don't have. I struggle with, and I imagine quite a lot of people are struggling with, what do I actually want to provide to myself, to society, to those around me? What does that mean to me first, internally, in an unselfish way? Because if you can get to that point, your distraction, I would imagine, I would hope, lowers significantly because you're then aligned with a wider purpose to that. I think the problem is we're so distracted, we're not even looking for that purpose anymore. And I'm marking that as a massive sweeping statement. But I think to your point, that's probably quite a lot of what's happening out there today.
And it's almost like this kind of cycle, right? Like the world outside, the external pressures, the things going on. When you actually open your eyes, a lot of this stuff without control or without, what's the word? Not control, with moderation, right? If like, as take my son and children on iPads, right? Or content that they're consuming, ideology, that external pressure, it's on, you're using it as, yes, you're using it to almost kind of those, what was it we used to take drugs? Then you,
like escapism.
Endorphins. So you're getting your endorphins going through engaging in this the colours and all that kind of jazz. Then you're taking the information in, you're trying to digest it into kind of framing the person. You're seeing these people, he's cool, I want to be more like that. Oh gosh, she's so pretty, I want to look like her. And then, as I've got older, I'm not engaging with that. I understand that. But then what I'm doing is I'm going in here, and then this starts to go. So it's out there, it's busy. It's in here, it's busy. What things have you done to, and I used to party, take drugs, drink alcohol, because it was my way of getting away from what's going on out there and what's going on in here. Are there any techniques that you've used that you feel helped you manage what's going, the storm that goes on outside and inside?
Yeah, there is one that stands out for me. Ironically, as a copywriter and a writer, journaling doesn't work for me.
Okay.
For a number of reasons.
I won't do it anymore now.
No, I said,
I'm joking.
So stop fucking doing it. Put your pen down.
I can't read anything that I've written down, by the way. It's just like that.
Do you know what? Yeah. That might be part of my problem because, again, ironically, as a writer, if you try and read what I write, it's like on with pen and paper. It's like fucking hieroglyphics. Like you're never going to see.
Too many big words for me, Nick.
Not even that. Treads, yeah. Journaling has not worked for me.
Yeah.
Meditation is the biggest one that I use.
Yeah.
And I misunderstood what meditation meant when I first started doing it, or tried to start doing it about 10 years ago. I had that image. I actually had that image. Remember Salt Rock, the surfer brand, of that kind of like, and you're meant to be meditating. You put your hands like this, your brain goes empty, and that didn't happen to me. Closed my eyes, and unsurprisingly, that didn't happen. And I thought, I'm shit meditating then. And then I was back into that same kind of self-flagellating discourse that would go on in my head. I then went and did some meditation on a, some evening thing, just because I felt drawn to it for some reason. And within that 1 hour session, I remember the guy. It was a Buddhist that was leading it, and he was explaining and he explained really clearly, meditation is not about not having any thoughts going through your head. Meditation is about having 1,000 thoughts going through your mind every minute.
Yeah.
But you acknowledging that you are watching your thoughts,
yeah.
Therefore you're not your thoughts.
Yeah.
And that was just one of those light bulb moments of like, oh my God, that's fucking what I was not doing, but I was watching. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
And, you don't need to have a mantra. You can do. I mean, and again, do not take my advice on this. I have my own way of doing it, as everyone else does.
Absolutely.
I will do 10 minutes of meditation in the morning, up to an hour if I feel like I really need it. And I watch 1,000 thoughts fly by. And sometimes they carry you with them for a little bit. And then you kind of realize and you check yourself back in and you just focus on your breath. In doing that, it's the only tool that I have found that I can pull out of the back pocket on a daily basis as and when I need to, that just helps me kind of recenter. And you only need 10 minutes a day. You don't need any equipment. You can do it anywhere within reason. And you don't need to know anything else other than you are watching your thoughts, therefore you are not your thoughts. And just use your breath to kind of come back into that. That's been the single biggest tool that I've used over the years.
Did you just call me a tool?
You're a fucking tool.
I'm the biggest tool. Passes that water, mate. Seriously, yeah. Sorry, guys, we don't have the budgets of Diary of a CEO, or staff members that are going to wait on us hand and foot. So we got to wing it like scat jazz. You can bring it onto the table. Oh no, maybe not, because then it's get in the way of the cameras.
Scat jazz, not to be confused with that subgenre of porn.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love it. Let's stick on meditation for a quick sec, because I couldn't agree with you more. Now, there's people that I know people that ask me the same thing, because I've experienced with my mental health, with the problems that I've had over the years. And again, I'm just going to reiterate this again during for the listeners, right? The whole point of Threads, right, is a safe space where you can engage with information from normal. And I'm not saying that celebrities and business, I'm a business person, but like it's the content of normal that I'm talking about, not just normal. I'm not saying normal people, we're all normal, but normal content that normalizes the reality of struggle, because it is normal. One of the worst things of being a mental health sufferer, and bear in mind Threads as well, it's not always going to be about mental health, and struggle is normal. Everybody struggles. This was going to talk a lot about interesting pathways that people have had through the years, that have generated, who have created their purpose in life. So it's going to be a lot around that. But really and truthfully, when we share, and what I want people to do with this is kind of link into the similarities, not the differences. One thread that people can take out of any of these podcasts is a win. That's in my opinion. Even if there's nothing you take away, if this makes you feel safe, makes you feel loved, makes you feel connected to, which is what I think the world is missing, human connection. Like we're missing, then we're craving love and connection more than we've ever done before. And meditation for me, very similar to you. And I have a different method, because now where I used to do it very similar, now it's like my opportunity to spend time with God. Being a Christian, I spend time with God, and I focus on his character. I focus on his goodness, his love. I focus on the things that are going on in my life, but I focus on the good things. And I also welcome in the things that are maybe problematic, and look at, I believe problems are tests. Tests make us stronger. There's an old scripture around gold is refined in the fire, right? We want to grow, but yet we don't want to accept that growth means sometimes, look at the caterpillar and the butterfly. The caterpillar goes through suffering, goes through pain in the cocoon, and then even getting out of the butterfly getting out. If you see a butterfly get out and it's slightly stuck, some people have a tendency to open it up, but then the butterfly automatically dies. So you've got to let that process, that kind of, is it called something?
Probably is, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, you're fired.
Yeah, you're fired.
But you know what I'm trying to say is that
metamorphosis?
That kind of, let's go with that.
Let's do that.
So that kind of metamorphosis, if it's called that, the butterfly coming out, that's where I believe that's where we all want to be. Whether you believe in spiritualism, religion, all this kind of stuff, it's like we all want to become that butterfly. We all want to be free. We all want to live life with freedom and love and care and compassion and gentleness and all this kind of good stuff. When I'm in those positions of meditation, and when I'm meditating in the mornings, sometimes I don't even want to leave. I just want to sit. I want to be in that space forever. So it's something to look at. Let's come off. Oh, you were going to say something.
I was just going to...
Were you going to call me a name?
A bellend.
No. You'd be right.
Yeah. The caterpillar, bellend, butterfly. As a side note,
hashtags for the podcast.
yeah. As a side note, it's weird. Wasn't what I was going to say, but I was reading an article the other day. The caterpillar, when it goes into the cocoon, it basically becomes mush before it turns into the butterfly.
Wow.
And yet they've proven, I'll send you the link to it, they've proven that the brain of the caterpillar / butterfly knows it's going through that transformation. So despite it being literal like mush, it knows what's happening somehow and then comes out as a fucking butterfly.
That is pretty cool.
Mad, isn't it? Yeah.
Should we end it there?
I think we've been like that before in our years, like 6 a.m. in a rave somewhere.
Yeah, like a puddle of spit.
Yeah. No, what I was actually going to say, just
a white molecule in a puddle of spit.
Yeah.
I've been there. I'm sure you can all relate. Don't pretend like you've not been there.
We've all been there. Is that idea of meditation, not wanting to leave?
Yeah.
Is you have to leave, you know, and it's important that you do leave because the world is there to be lived in a reality, not there to be lived in an ideology or romanticized idea that you're not going to have struggles and challenges, you know. And to your point of what tool do you use, it's another tool in a toolbox that you learn, right? This we are not sponsored. Before I say this, but I did a lot of work with some guys. It's run by this amazing man called Michael Maisie, called the CIP Project, or the Change is Possible Project. It's down in Devon / Taunton kind of area in the Mendips. I think there's a couple of places, but that's where I learned a lot of that other stuff. Kind of more deep-seated meditation, breath work. We did sweat lodges, and it was all about. Originally, it was a kind of men's only group. They now do mixed groups and female only groups as well. It's some of the best work I've ever done.
Really?
And I would maybe go as far as probably saved my life at one point.
Wow.
You know, I was really not in a good place. And the last thing I wanted to do was go down onto that land, because you're going down there with 26 plus men. You don't have a fucking clue who they are. Your brain's working overdrive. I almost turned around 3 times before I went down to the first one. But the thing that they teach you on there is trauma has no scale. It doesn't, you know, there was men from all walks of life that I was with, people that had just got out of prison, people that had just sold their businesses for millions of pounds, and everybody in between, including myself. And you got shown and taught you built your own toolbox, or they helped you build this toolbox by allowing you to see that being in connection is really important with one another as humans. And only by doing that can you be in better connection with yourself. And by understanding that trauma has no scale, that it doesn't matter if a person over here has gone through something that you're thinking, fucking hell, like, well, that, you know, my problems pale into insignificance compared to that person. It's totally irrelevant because your problems and your challenges are your struggles in life. You can't compare them to someone else, to go full circle on what we were kind of starting out this with around comparison. Really, really important stuff. And if anyone that is going through any challenges right now thinks they might need some support, might want to explore something like that, go online, Google the CIP Project. It's an incredible piece of work, incredible community, and you know, can't thank Michael enough for what he's done and what he's built.
That's brilliant. It's funny, right? Like, as you were talking about connection, like, and I'm gonna come off this subject because we can talk about this all day, but I'm gonna kind of just lean into this. I want to get your thoughts because it came to me. You know, I'm going to go back to social media again. Like, almost LinkedIn has become a bit of a ground for. It's not even. It's almost like adult arguments now. Yeah. Like, and this need to be right. You know, and again, that links into purpose. Like, people think they've found their purpose in. I don't know as an example, because I don't want anybody to listen and think, oh, I found them and I'm using them as an example. But there are things we express ourselves in a means to aligning that with what our purpose is. And then we have this, if people don't relate to that or engage with it or agree with it, we then end up in this combative space. it's almost like with social media, you're chucking every different type of personality with everybody's different type of success and struggle in one place at one time. Surely at some stage that's going to implode. Like I just saw it on Facebook. It became a hive mind of negative, trolly, argumentative. There was very now and then a small group of people that understood compassion and love would lean into that, but it's not even challenging people with debate anymore. It's, well, there is, but a lot of it sometimes is just argumentative, slandering, aggressive, passive aggressive behaviors. So, you know, social media has now become and I fear, and we're not going to get onto this because we could be here forever, AI is now going to be influenced.
Yeah, let's not get into AI on this one. Yeah,
you can listen again next week.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, join in for part
I've got
2,
Mo
3 and 4.
Gaudat coming in, ex-chief business. No, I can't say that because, but like, you know, I think there is a lot around that. I don't think so. I want to end on this before I want to talk about something else. Understanding purpose is a thing that we all struggle with. Sometimes our ambition and our kind of expectation of ourselves is set so high by the things that we engage with, the things that we see, the outside influences. You're reconnecting with yourself to understand a little bit that sometimes we already have everything that we already need. Maybe we're striving for things that we think are going to make our lives better, when really, actually, we're, like I said, we're in the 1% in the UK of very fortunate. You know, we're not in war. You know, we're able to feed our children. We're able to put food on the table. Most of the time, there's resources around to help us during the struggle. You know, make sure that you're reaching out the best you can and build it. You know, getting help. I mean, that is I guess to end this mental around your current situation. The key for you was you got help.
Yeah.
Cool.
Get help and don't be afraid to reach out. And that sounds so cliched, but for me, that fear of reaching out was a combination of feeling like I'm just actually having a bit of a moan and it's not that bad, and I don't want to get in the way of thinned resources that are needed elsewhere. And oh God, it's something else that Nick's brought up that I need to deal with, and that's just how I feel in my head. Get past that. That is not the part of your brain, and your brain is not always your best friend that you should be listening to. Sometimes
the easiest thing in the world is almost the hardest thing for us to understand, which is pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Like, pick up the phone. Like, you're naughty for that because I only found out that you've been struggling when me and you have talked about it before, but I only found out when you turned up today and we had our pre-cast chat.
Yeah.
Let's look at you then, mate. Like, you're married.
Married.
I know Beanie.
Yeah.
Legend.
Yeah.
Legend.
The Beanster, yeah.
How long have you been married for?
Married 7 years last month, together for probably 12. Known each other since uni, which was 18 years ago. So we've been, I mean, I would say, and I'm pretty sure she'd agree with me, best mates since we met at uni.
Lovely.
It's just one of those rare people that I remember the first time I ever spoke to her, the first time we actually met, way before we were going out, and I just knew, like, this woman will be in my life for the rest of my life, whether she likes it or not. It turned out that she did like it, and we got married.
Yeah.
So yeah, married for 7 years, together for about 12, give or take.
No kids, but you got a dog.
Son's kids, got a dog, Miller.
Yeah.
4. He is a beautiful nightmare.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the truest sense of the word. He's a handsome chap. He is high energy, and I wouldn't have him any other way.
Love it.
But yeah, no kids. We get asked that question about kids a lot, understandably so. You know, a lot of our close friends, 2 of my close best friends from school, married 2 of Beanie's best mates from her school, which are, you know, we never met in school days. So you have a lot of close friends, you know, that ask about kids, and right, it's a totally understand why they would ask that question. But yeah, we're quite open to the fact that we don't have kids, we don't have plans to yes or no with kids, and we'll just kind of see where things go with it. But we're quite happy on our adventures with Miller at the moment, and yeah, taking it from there.
And so let's. If somebody didn't know you, I do. I know everything about it. But if somebody didn't know you,
Please don't say everything.
what moment or experience would you explain? Who you are best.
Ooh. The moment I'm proudest of, outside of marrying my wife, the moment I'm proudest of, that would probably sum me up, is a film that I wrote probably about 10 years ago now, but it's still very front of mind. I wrote, and one of my best mates directed it. As an old school friend from school days, we had this pipe dream that one day I'll write a film, Kieran will direct it, it'll be amazing. Kieran then went to one of the world's leading film academies in Paris and rang me up one day. Pryke, I've got an opportunity to do this short film. Would you want to write something? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. We actually did that purely because we never thought we'd even be in a position to be able to write and film something together. We subsequently did. Unbeknownst to us at the time, once it was finished, his younger brother, Dunks, who worked on the film together as well, so he was a very, very key part of the film, but didn't necessarily tell us that he was putting the film into a number of awards. And it started winning awards, it snowballed, and it ended up winning an award at Clermont-Ferrand Film Festival, which is one of the world's leading short film festivals.
No.
And we were the only unfunded film that won an award there. I think it was, I can't tell you how many applications there were. I would have thought it was in the kind of thousands, but there was 82 finalists, I think. It was 82 or 81 finalists, and we were one of the finalists that then went on to win something.
Wow.
The film was called Pisquesa. It's, if you type my name into IMDb, it'll come up. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of in my life so far. Me and Key keep talking about, and I'm currently writing a number of short stories that hopefully we're going to turn one of them into another short film. I mean, it's been over a decade in the making. We've not done it yet, but life's happened in the meantime. I think that would sum me up. What I love doing, that creativity, friendships, really important to me as well. But being able to work on something like that, on that unbridled sense of, bringing something to life is really important to me.
And that links in, right? So this is why I wanted to get onto this subject and get to know you a little bit better, and some of the things that you've achieved, and some of the things that some of the moments that really the wins, right? But again, it links in, right? That purpose again. I know you really well, and in terms of a creator and creative, your brain is just incredible. That's why you're so good at coming up with ideas. You're an ideas guy, and I know you're good. We'll come into this. I know you do a bit of poetry. You do, your sketches, your artistry work. You're a creator. So and it's not the fame of winning that film award. It wasn't like it blew up for you, unless there's something I don't know about. No. You're going to take that moustache off and you're going to be,
it's me,
Nicholas McConaughey,
Taika Waititi.
But it wasn't fame you were striving for, and you didn't get that, but you got the recognition for the talent that you have, right? The everybody has their own kind of playbook of the things that make them human, that make them individual, make them special. And you've been able to use that, show that to the world, and people go, this is great. The award's one thing, right? But people just turn around to you saying, this is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one, very kind of you to say so.
I've not seen it. So
I would say anyone, to yourself or anyone else that does watch it, don't watch it if you're feeling down or hungover, because it's pretty out there and dark. But do give it a watch. Yeah. I think that nail on the head with the film piece. We would have been just as happy, the three of us, we were just as happy once we'd finished it. The fact that it then started going into a few awards to test the waters and that kind of stuff was never our intention. And to answer your question around the pride thing, or the proudest thing I've ever done, just so happens to be probably one of the truest places of purpose I found. You know, that alignment of being in purpose to writing a story from scratch, working with some of my closest friends, building out something that we'd never done before and going through that experience together, watching it literally come to life through building out the story into the script, into the filming, into the raw cuts, into the edits, into the actual final film itself. All of that stuff was purposeful to us. The fact that we then went and did the awards and all that kind of stuff was icing on the cake, and absolutely adds to that sense of pride. But we would have been just as proud if we finished that and no one else ever saw it, because it was really, really important to us.
So thank you for that. It reminded me of something I used to say a lot when I was younger, because I love my music. And I remember saying, no, sorry, I'm trying to steal with pride there, because it wasn't me that said it. Somebody said it to me, and I then stole it and said it was my saying.
Steal away.
Here first.
Steal away, man.
Steal away. I can't even remember who it was. It might have been you. I'll check. So when you play a song, right, to somebody that you like, I remember the gentleman saying, listen intently, because when somebody shows you and plays a song that you like, they're showing you a little bit of their soul. And that really hit me. And as a creator myself, somebody that, you know, you got to work with a friend. It was creative expression, people seeing that part of your soul in the work that you did. And you know what the funny thing is? We came back to the outside influences that really aren't important. Money. It wasn't like you, well, unless, you know, did you make millions from it?
No. Made another.
But look how happy it made you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That wasn't the point of it. You know, it wasn't there to make money. It was there to not sound cliched. It was there to be made by us. That's what it was. That was the whole goal at the time, was realizing our own pipe dream from school days. That was it. There's nothing more than that to it. And yet that to this day is one of, if not the proudest moments of my life. And the caveat, right, again, is, you know, people say, find a job that you love, like what you're doing there, and do it full time. The reality is that's not, you know, I don't agree with that.
No.
I don't agree with that at all, to be fair.
So the answer is balance.
Yeah, it's
balancing
all things in balance, right?
Work that, you know, like, it's not like we both hate our jobs. It's actually, are we doing more of the thing that keeps the lights on, provides for our family, which we should all be really humble, and I hate the word proud, but we should be happy about. But then we need to find time for those things that are around creative expression that really fill our hearts and kind of showcase the key things that we really are truly all about. And if we get to do that for a job, and some people will,
totally,
congrats, you know, that is amazing.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know that when I was on stage playing at Creamfields, when I was on stage playing at Creamfields.
Sorry, where was I? Creamfields, don't
worry about it. Creamfields, you know, Field of Creams. Oh, no, that sounded real weird.
No, that's Tog Hill, isn't it, mate?
That's Tog Hill,
That's Tog Hill.
That is Tog Hill. Yeah. Come back to that.
That's what she said. Yeah, definitely don't put that in.
Too late, because I'm not editing nothing. You know, when I was on the stage playing, and it wasn't because the people that was there, or it was like, hey, look at me, I'm on stage playing at Creamfields. It really wasn't. In fact, the biggest thing for me was I was playing my music that I made to people that liked hearing the music that I made, because it was, again, it wasn't like, oh, look at them dancing to my music. It was like, I put so much, my heart went into that. They're listening into it, they're smiling, and I don't think there's any better feeling. And you're doing something very similar with the poetry, which is, tell people about that. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, man. So I suppose just to add on to your Creamfields point, it's the pure cream. What did I say?
Field of Cream.
I said Creamfields, didn't I?
You did. I was just trying to throw it off. Sorry.
That's all right. I thought it said cream pie by accident.
Tune in next week.
Where we'll be looking at everyone's internet history. Yeah, it's the purest form of creativity, right? And again, in a non-wanky way, but that can be the loneliest place to be. And at points, because you're looking internally, you're creating something from scratch. So I'm working on this side project at the moment called Plan on Being, where I am typewriting 1,000 poems. I've got a long way to go. I'm currently about 30 in.
Wow.
But writing myself individually 1,000 poems, putting them in envelopes that say "For you, stranger," and I'm leaving them in places in and around Bristol just for people to find. The only link, I don't put my name on them, but anyone watching this will know it. If you want to go on Instagram, feel free to check it out. The project's called Plan on Being. So on the envelope, you turn it over, it just says, say hi on Instagram at Plan on Being. And the idea is to leave these little moments in a day where someone's going to find that, and hopefully it's going to brighten their day. I'm very careful about what I write in them. You can't be leaving something negative or concerning around, because you don't know who's going to pick it up. So they are inherently positive poems or affirmations or notes of people. And if someone wants to share how it made them feel when they pick it up, then there's the opportunity for them to do so by having the Instagram profile. But again, it's nothing to do with building followers, trying to monetize anything. It is perhaps the purest idea and feeling of creativity that I've had today, because I'm creating something anonymously, physically, that I'm leaving out for a stranger to find, that more often than not, I'll never know who they are. I think so far, the kind of proverbial hit rate of who finds one and gets in touch with me tends to be about 1 in 10. I've had 3 people so far out of the 25-ish that have done it.
Again, careful as well there. Like not that you would, but we can look at that as a failure, because but we forget, we count the people that didn't open or didn't message. We're not counting the ones that did.
That did, yeah.
And do you know what? The smallest, it's cliche, but the smallest acorns grow the biggest trees. Those 3 people, one of those 3, might have needed that day.
Yeah.
And how it touched their heart for them to take the time out to message you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And I don't expect anybody to message me. And you could be asking, or you could argue, well, why set the Instagram profile up? The honest answer to start with, very boringly, was logistics. Because I'm not going to keep 1,000 photos on my phone, right? So every time I write one,
of me.
Yeah, I've got 999 photos of you, but that's because you send them to me.
I actually do.
Yeah. And none of them are of your face.
No.
So every one that I write on the typewriter, I take a photo of the poem. It goes in the envelope. So there's one photo of the poem itself. And then there's a photo of where I left it. And the only thing that goes on the Instagram post is the location of where I left it and the time that I left it. That's it. So for me, it just really started as an archive, because I'm working towards 1,000 poems. And in doing so, I think, subconsciously at the time, now more consciously looking back at it, I think it definitely was me working through a lot of my own thoughts, and probably writing a lot of things that were very reflective of what I needed to hear at the time, or do need to hear at the time. And it was an outlet for me to do that. And connecting it, or having myself connecting in with strangers feels very important to me. So naturally, that just became a hand in glove thing. Well, I'm writing these poems anyway. Why not leave them for maybe other people that might want to read something that I would like to read for myself? And it kind of went from there. So yeah, there's a long way to go, but it's not really about, hitting 1,000 and having a celebration. I might not even hit 1,000. I might get to 100 and go, fucking hell, that took a long time. But I don't think I will, because it's not about the volume or the output. It's more about the process of it and how it's helping me, and hopefully how I can help other people that I will never even meet again.
I love that. And I hope people that are listening, you know, think about, you know, we all like football, we like sports, we like, you know, we all have hobbies and things like that. But like that, we're coming back to human connection, community, bringing people together, you know, relegate, all that coming together again, you know, uniting as people. Sometimes we don't need to overthink. We just need to come up with a way that we can express ourselves and the movement here and the things that you do, and the movement here and the things that Threads is about, actually showing that out there are people that care, that really care and understand that life is hard. No matter, even the people that, you know, the world says has everything. And I do, you know, I hate thinking about that. Like, I've got the best job, I've got kids, I've got the house, I've got this. It's like, and it actually makes me feel really angry to think that that's the way the world dictates what success really looks like. Actually, the biggest wins are those moments of somebody reading your poem and acknowledging how that made them feel. Sometimes it's that video that you make, not dodgy ones, but a video that you made that, you know, like the film you made, where you got to express that little piece of your heart, that little purpose that you're passionate about, and you get acknowledgement for that, and people resonate and connect with it. It's all that kind of stuff that really brings the world together, whilst all this other stuff is really kind of creating divide and pushing us away. Let me ask you a few final things, mate.
Sure.
What would you tell your younger self right now?
Oh, fucking hell. What would I tell my younger self? That is a very good question.
It's usually you asking the good questions. Can you hear that, everybody on the podcast? Somebody's decided to walk across the ceiling in stilettos.
I think that's my younger self walking away.
Don't tell him, Nick.
Shit answer.
Don't tell him.
Yeah. What would I tell my younger self? I don't have an answer for that. No. I don't think. There's a million things that I probably could tell my younger self, but I don't know whether any of them would. One that springs to mind, but would be to not overthink so much. But I think that's redundant advice, because I do overthink, and I don't think that would do my younger self any difference. I don't know is the honest answer. I don't think it's a question that I could answer. What about you? To turn it back on you.
There's me above there. Run!
Yeah, not you again.
Medic! I was going to say don't take yourself so seriously, but I don't. No, that's a lie. I do. I think for me it would be don't lose childlike. Don't lose that inner child. You know, I think that's the thing that was took away from me as a kid through my own experiences. I won't get into all that, but I moved forward to the next stage of my life very quickly, and being childlike is something we should all hold on to. I think that's what I would say. That was quite deep.
Nice.
But, you know, it probably is.
I think that's a good one.
Because I look at the innocence of my children, right? I look at my daughter. She just doesn't care, right? Like, she's 4, right? And you think, well, yeah, she's 4. But do you know what? Like, her running to the door when I get home from work. And the oldest now, they've moved on. Like, Archie's YouTube. Great kid. My boy. But, like, again, it's the fear of what the world is creating that impacts and influences where we start to go as we move up in our lives. And that's my concern, is like, I can't father them forever. Of course I can. I
Yeah,
will always
yeah,
be
yeah,
their
yeah.
father. But at some stage, they've got to start making mistakes.
Yeah.
But that childlike innocence from my daughter running to the door, Daddy! And she's just not distracted by what's going on in the world. You know, and that for me brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I actually feel a little bit jealous because I'd like to be in that. I said to Kay, I was like, oh, you know, she'd come running up, like Maddox, just like, Mummy, I want Dum Dum and Bun Bun. Sometimes I want Dum Dum and Bun Bun and Milkies. You know, like, because that space is, again, like, it's that responsibility factor that I take responsibility of life really way too seriously. And maybe that ties in about don't take yourself so seriously. Trust in that everything is going to work out as it should. And, you know, live life as free as you possibly can. And you can decide. Remember, we have a choice of where we decide to go. And we do have the choice to have freedom. We do have the choice to do the things that we want to do, even if you don't have money. You know, one of the greatest stories ever told is, of course, Jesus, who, you know, just didn't care about money, but he always had enough. And you'll always have enough. I think you'll always have enough. But that's my opinion. Let me ask you this. When you come in here, I noticed you were noticeably struggling, right?
Yeah.
If you were to give yourself a level from when you came in, a number between 1 and 10, where do you think you were?
Today's been a better day, I'd probably say.
But when you came in?
Yeah. To start with, I'd probably say a 6 compared to where I've been.
And how would you say you're leaving after talking about this stuff?
I'd say a solid 8.
Yeah.
I'd say a solid 8. You know, outside of the obvious, us being really good mates and knowing that I was coming here today and we were going to have this chat and set everything else up. Having that sense of connection, being outside and doing something different, seeing other people around a space as well that I've not been to before. All of those small little things can do help. So I'd say a 6 when I came here. I'd say an 8 when I'm leaving. I definitely feel lighter, again, more connected, not just to you and to what we're doing here now in front of a camera, which is a version of us as well, right? As open as we are being, it's also a version of us in front of a camera. But being outside in this lovely space is just allows those small little bits to kind of turn up a bit more and be a tiny bit brighter.
Good. 2 more.
All right.
And then, what are we doing after this?
Good question.
Toggle?
Toggle.
People are going to be Googling what Toggle is now.
Yeah, good luck Googling
just so
Toggle.
everybody understands. So me and Nick worked at, and I won't mention the company, but we worked together at an organisation, and just to get through the day, we were quite crude, silly boys, really. But
with
you know
each
what?
other.
We'll talk about that childlike innocence, right? Like,
definitely
bring
came
that
out
back. It was childlike.
Yeah.
Do you know what? What happened to just being silly? And do you know what? And I think that's important. Like, you are going to get on this podcast, like, just silly. And like, I'm not asking you to you can sit there and go, what a bunch of prats. I don't mind.
Yeah,
I just hope that
likewise.
people see some of the human side of what it means to be alive. You know?
And just to be clear, Toggle is a dogging site near Bath. So
I was going to let people Google it so that people had something to go away, and not that I would know. I mean, Nick came in and told me all about it when he arrived. I was I'm going to go straight to another serious question.
Is it weird that you had a keyring of it on your pics? Is that sorry, question.
I was going to ask what that keyring would look like, but I wish I hadn't thought of that. What's one truth you wish more people understood?
Whoa. What is one truth I wish more people understood? One truth that I wish people understood more is that life is going to be a challenge, is meant to be a challenge. I don't think you can expect to go through life without dealing with struggles head on.
Yeah.
And I will hold my hands up to having suffered with that in parts in previous years. You know, why is this happening to me? This shouldn't be happening. What have I done wrong about things? It's very easy to get in that kind of woe is me. And we all do it, right? It's like you are but a human. You're also going to get into that bit. But I think that life is challenging, that you are going to have struggles. Everybody knows, but it's difficult to remind yourself of that when you are in those times. So acknowledging that and being able to sit in those times, which I have not been very good at doing, is a truth that I think is understated a lot of the time. I think it's very easy to kind of come up with mantras and nice little quotes about it. I think it's another thing completely to face those struggles and challenges head on and feel like you're not about to drown in them.
And I think just to kind of emphasize, I love that. And remember, like, if you actually, I know you don't journal, which again is absolutely, considering you're a scribe, do you have a quill? I hope you do.
I fucking do have a quill, mate. No.
I need you to get yourself a quill. I love
Do you
that.
imagine how long it would take to write anything for you on a quill?
Looking into the inkwell. For the poems. For the poems.
'Twas a stormy eve.
Yeah.
No, I do not have a quill.
Oh, I'm absolutely buying you a quill, and I want you to get a photo. Or we didn't talk about the typewriter. Maybe.
I mean, a typewriter is fucking left field enough, I think, isn't it?
Oh man!
All I'm missing is a beret at that point. You know?
I've completely lost where I was going to go with this. The struggle,
challenge.
What I've really sort of come to terms with, and I related to, and I hope other people relate to this. Actually, I'm going to ask people to go away and look and review this. I was going to say around the journaling, because you don't journal.
Sorry,
but what journaling has helped me done. And bear in mind, when I say journaling, it's like one sentence. And sometimes it doesn't even make sense because I'm doing it for the sake of doing it to keep on track. But sometimes there is some stuff in there that I've gone back to 3 months later, and I'm like, do you know what? If that hadn't happened, that was really painful, I would not have been in the position I am today. So, like, actually, all those moments that are suffering and pain have actually turned out to be the exact reason I've become the person that I am today. So sometimes it's, you know, people say like fallibility, failure, you know, turning failure into feedback, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But actually understanding that trials and tests are actually the opportunity for us to kind of navigate to become the person we were always meant to be, not to let them be our downfall, because they don't last forever.
Yeah.
They, you know, we only actually, a lot of the time why they last a long time is because we don't let them go. And we kind of kick off, the world is against me, everybody's against me, why is this happening? I get it.
Yeah.
You know, some people lose their businesses, some people lose family members, you know, God forbid children, you know, like these are huge things that I will never really truly understand unless I was them. But you know what? They are so strong today, even with the heartache and the pain. They are strong today and they're still going. And do you know what? Kudos to humans, because life is hard. But as you can hear through your story, there is chaos, but there is also clarity. There is beauty. You know, you've gone up, it might be 1 point on the 0 to 10 index, but connection, community, sharing, being honest, being vulnerable, all these things are actually, might be scary, but actually moving us further ahead in life, each day at a time. So let me ask you, how do you want people to feel after hearing this story today, mate?
I would like people to feel that connection is extremely important with others, but it's perhaps more important with yourself first. And I say that selfishly from what I'm going through right now. I think I've probably been disconnected from who I am or who I acknowledge myself to be for longer than I perhaps gave time to. So I think being in connection or finding ways to better connect with yourself so you can better connect with the wider world is really empowering. Is a fucking difficult thing to do, but it's worth doing. And I'd like people to be able to feel that empowerment in trying.
I love that, mate.
I love you, mate.
I love you too, bro.
Nice.
I really do. I really love you. Should we talk about our Nashville endeavours? We had a wicked time in Nashville.
We did.
What
was Spice Boys?
The Spice Boys.
Spice Boys.
So we ended up. People just aren't going to care about this, but maybe they do, right?
How long have we got on this?
Well, I was just looking. Right, we're at 1 hour 20 minutes. I was like, should we make it a cool 1.5 hours?
Are you going to edit this down?
No.
Yeah?
No, it stays online because do you know what? Like, I know you're not a fan. No, are we allowed to talk about that? You're not a fan of a certain person that does a podcast, famous person, Mr. Bartlett.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not, again.
No, let's not get into
that. I can listen to, they're quite long. They can be like about 2.5 hours. I don't want to do that. People don't want to listen to us rabbit on for 2 hours. But, I stick it on in the car. And again, it would just be like 3 or 4 things that come out of that conversation. I'm just like, yeah, man, that really hit. That really hit. Long journeys, anything like that, flights. I hope people, take this, engage with it, listen all the way through. Get to know people behind the mask, realize that we're all not so different. And, I hope it just elevates people in a way that it's amazing what the heart can do when you kind of feel, the counterpoint of one's heart with another. That to me is really like where I start to connect. And it just brings me up. It just really brings me up. It brings me up to a level where I go, do you know what? Everything's going to be all right, man. And I think that's a nice way to kind of close this out. Everything is going to be all right, no matter what goes on. But don't be afraid to ask for help. Use these as a platform we're not trying to educate. We're trying to be real. We talked about cream pies. And we're talking about like an actual cream pie, right? Like,
totally.
Pie.
Yeah,
so that everybody that listens to it, if there's any kind of Karens out there that are listening into this, they said about cream pie.
An American cream pie.
An American cream pie. It's one of my favourite desserts.
You just dug a hole for yourself there.
Okay. How about this? Let's leave with something that I want to carry through to next one.
Sure.
Which is do you have a quote that helps you day by day? A quote that you stand by?
Yeah, one that springs to mind for me. Not really a quote. Well, yeah, this too shall pass. I don't look at it flippantly either. Good, bad and ugly, this too shall pass. When times are shit, they won't stay shit forever.
No.
As much as it feels like in the moment they will. And this too shall pass might not be when you want it to pass. You have to get out of your own way for it to pass as well. But the same is true when things are good. Make sure you can understand this too shall pass in all contexts is what I remind myself. When things are really shit, it's on me to a certain degree. I have to have my own level of accountability to get out of my own way sometimes. When things are great, they're not going to stay that way forever either. And that's not a negative thing. I don't look at that as a negative. But this too shall pass is something that sticks with me all the time.
I love that as well. And we'll end with this. Nature somebody I read it in. Who did the Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe?
C.S.
Lewis.
C.S. Lewis, yeah.
C.S. Lewis wrote. It was a book called Mere Christianity, and it was talking about nature. That nature in all its glory answers to no one. It's windy. It's raining. You know, it's you cannot predict. You cannot control. Sometimes the weather will try, but then it starts pissing down with rain. But yet we live in that chaos. Nature is chaos, but yet we accept it. Life is chaos, but we choose not to accept it. We're trying to control what's going on. And, you know, again, I don't want to go into my beliefs. You know, I trust that there's somebody in control, but just whether you believe in nature, you believe in nature. Why? Because we can see it. We can feel it. We experience it. But we experience life, but try to control life. Yeah. Sometimes we just got to accept that everything is out of our control, but what we can do is trust that it will all, because it will. How many times do you wake up and well, we do wake up. Yeah.
The answer to that is currently 39 years times 365 days would be my answer to that.
Go on then. What's the number?
We'll be back for part 2. But your point of control, yeah, absolutely. The only thing you can control is your response to things.
Yeah.
Right. Again, I find that very difficult to do at points. But you can only control your response to things, how you regulate yourself, how you look and perceive things that are happening. That is all you can do. Everything else outside of that is you are not in control of. And that's a fucking scary place to be when you realize that and you don't quite know how you should control things. But it also is something that we're all trying to work on.
Yeah.
Right? Every day. And that can be through something formulaic that happens, you know, a mistake that happens at work. It can be something fucking life-changing that happens. That's a significant, game changer on how your life now moves forward forevermore. And you still have to learn from that experience as well, and how you regulate and control and perceive your reaction to whatever is happening in that external reality. Difficult to do. That's, again, back to our previous point on purpose. There's probably something really important that ties in there that we would do if we had another 3 hours to talk, right?
Yeah. And that is one of the absolutely beautiful parts of being human. Mate, let me have a look. Hang on a second. Let me just ask the video team. Guys, you know, how are we doing for time? Yeah, is that good? Okay. Can I have a flat white? What would you like? People do realise we're just talking to brick walls right now.
Yeah. We've lost it. We've lost the plot. That's the end of the episode.
Again, that's one of the absolute beautiful parts of being human. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And yeah, what a way to get this show on the road. And I want to just say a massive thank you, Nick.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you, bro. And again, anything I can ever do, I'll always be there for you. I believe you are an extra special human being that not only has influenced me in my life, made me a better person, but somebody I actually don't think I could ever imagine not being friends with. And I thank you for that, because you've always helped me. And, you know, I wanted to get you on this because I knew you would be vulnerable. I knew you would be honest, and I knew you'd have the most incredible story. So thank you for sharing that with everyone, including me today. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Off to Tog Hill.
We're off to Tog Hill.
We'll see you next time. Thanks,
Love you, mate.
Love you too, bro.